The Milford Buccaneers finished last season at 6-4, almost making the playoffs. Marcus Correa spent most of the season at quarterback until head coach Mike Tack thought, hey, let's mix it up a little. And he made some pretty smart adjustments, if you ask me. So this season, Correa will spend most of his time at wide receiver while William Kimmel plays under center, making the Bucs both a passing and a running threat. Correa's 6'5" presence will also be a difference maker on defense as he'll bolster the secondary at corner. Let's head to Bridgeville. The Woodbridge Blue Raiders started off last season at 2-3, but they won their final 5 games of the season to make it to the second round of the playoffs. This year, they're favored to win the conference. They bring back Tariq Reddick, who has already been offered by D1s as a running back, and quarterback Troy Haynes, who stepped into the starting job mid-season last year. Defensive end Shamir Vessels and Blaze Refferwill will also return. Fred Johnson and the Lake Forest Spartans are coming off of an 8-2 season. They made it to the quarterfinals of the playoffs before they fell to the Wilmington Friends School. They lost their 2-year starting quarterback, Noah Johnson. This season is the first time in a while they're not favored to win the conference. The Del Mar Wildcats only won 1 game last season, and for a program that's historically been dominant, it's safe to assume this team is ready for a good year. They return quarterback Jimmy Adkins, but only have 5 seniors on their roster. Spencer Trey, my question is, what's the plan of attack for such a young but talented squad?
That is a great question. Thankfully, we got the guy that's going to know exactly how to answer that. We're now joined by the legend. Yeah, pretty much, Coach Dave Hearn from the Del Mar Wildcats. Fun fact about Coach Hearn, first time he did a television interview when he got his job about 40 years ago. We were still in black and white at that point, so I really appreciate you waiting all the time so we were able to kind of go to HD.
That was
all these lights, I'm sure it's a little different compared to what you're used to right now. But,
very good.
Speaking of, you were obviously a youthful man when you were just taking that job, and youth is something that is very familiar with your team right now. Just 4 seniors, a young group. Are you a little concerned about what's going to happen early on as these guys kind of get stepped into this limelight, brand new positions for a lot of them?
Real concerned. I mean, some of the pictures I saw, we were on the bad end of those highlights.
I'm sorry about that.
And one of them sitting right over there. We got a great group that's worked real hard all summer, real hard in the off season, and the seniors we do have, there's 3 or 4 of them that are pretty talented, and they're determined to get us back on the right side of that 500 mark.
One of the seniors that you do have is your quarterback, Jimmy Atkins. Did a wonderful job last year. How does he even get even better this year, and how have you seen his preparation?
Well, he's got to be a leader as well as, and make good decisions as well as being a good athlete. And he has some pretty good people working with him that are upperclassmen, that are returning players. So they have to set a good role model for all these young guys. And hopefully they make good decisions together off the field and on the field and produce some wins. Yeah.
Coach, don't want to bring up bad memories, but I'm going to anyway. Let's take things back to what happened over there in Felton last year. Was that the most painful loss that you've ever been a part of?
Referring to the field
goal. Referring to the blocked field goal, the championship, celebrating, and then all of a sudden a kicker.
Yeah.
A kicker
walked into the end zone.
Walks in to win it as time had already expired. That was pretty rough.
I don't know if it's the most painful. It was one of the most unusual and really hard to swallow. I mean, the guys were celebrating on the field while the winning touchdown was scored and against us. That was hard to swallow, confusing to answer and explain to anybody, and a difficult ride home. So that kind of got things spiraling, and we found other ways to do similar things as the season went along.
Heartbreak was the definition of that season.
Yes, I would definitely agree. Coach, 6 state championships for Del Mar, known as a powerhouse in those, 5 or 6 years ago, even still. How do you bring this program back to prominence?
That's the players. They've done a good job, like I said, working, and they know the tradition. We have great coaches, and a lot of those coaches, we got about 200 years worth of experience in the coaches, so they just preach nothing but we move on from there. As some of the coaches said, it's a new season. That's all done. It's the only 2016 team we'll have. And they've got their own tradition they want to build.
Coach, I want to veer off just a little bit from this year's team and talk about a guy that used to play for you, Alex Ellis, obviously Skidder, having a great opportunity right now, making an NFL roster, one of the first guys out of Del Mar. Yeah. We're doing great. His dad, one of the coaches on the team, had a chance to meet him. Incredible individual, fits every rumor you've ever heard about this guy. Endless energy right there. But how proud are you of to see a guy that was a walk-on at Tennessee, earned this opportunity, and now making the best of it, had a touchdown in his last game. I mean, I know you guys had to be very proud as a community of him.
I don't know too much about the tweet and the Facebook and all that stuff going on there, but I know that anytime he does something, it just spreads like wildfire around our community and then goes from there. And if you know him, if you've met him, he is just as humble and modest about his accomplishments. His father is the same. Yeah. If you ask him about it, they talk about you instead of themselves. And he's just tremendous, and he worked out with us this summer. Yep. Just fantastic. Yeah.
I've been trying for about 2 months to get an interview with this man, and he keeps me like, well, maybe after the next game. Or I don't want to talk about myself just
very
yet.
Humble guy. Yeah.
I'm excited to see him make a team. I'm excited to see you guys play. Coach, thank you so much for coming down top with us.
Thanks.
It's time for another quick commercial break, that is, but the party train rolls on. Next stop is IR. You're watching the DSI Coaches Conference.
Tyler Bonner, Queen Anne's linebacker. You're watching Del Mar, a Sports Insider.